Hello, everyone. Today, we're going on a journey, not just across distances, but back in time, millions and millions of years, to uncover the incredible story of how the land of India, the land we call home, was born.
You know, when we look at a map of India, it's a land of amazing contrasts, isn't it? We have the soaring peaks of the Himalayas, the huge, flat northern plains, and the ancient, rocky peninsular plateau. But have you ever stopped to wonder, how did it all get here? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out.
So our story begins with the most dramatic event in India's entire geological history, the Great Himalayan Collision. This is the event that gave us the highest mountains in the entire world. You see, millions of years ago, the land we now call India wasn't even here in the Northern Hemisphere. It was actually part of a massive southern supercontinent called Gondwana. Then, a huge piece of this land, what we call the Indian Plate, broke away and started an incredibly long, very slow journey north, drifting across an ancient ocean. And what happened at the end of that journey? Well, it was nothing short of spectacular. The Indian Plate crashed into the giant Eurasian Plate. Now, this wasn't just a small bump. It was a colossal collision. The force was so immense that the land between the two plates buckled, folded, and was pushed upwards, creating what our textbooks call geologically young and structurally fold mountains, the mighty Himalayas.
And the result of this collision? It's just breathtaking. The Himalayas are not just tall, they form one of the highest and most rugged mountain barriers on the planet. Just try to imagine an immense wall of rock, literally scraped and pushed up from the seabed, all born from an impact that unfolded over millions of years.
So, you might hear this term, geologically young, and wonder, what does that actually mean? Well, here's a really simple way to picture it. Imagine you take a fresh sheet of paper and just crumple it up. See all those sharp folds, those high pointy peaks? That's exactly what a young mountain range looks like. Now, hold on to that thought, because we're going to compare it to an older landform, which is more like a smooth, rounded stone that's been worn down by time. Now, the rise of the Himalayas was just the beginning. In fact, their creation set the stage for the next incredible chapter in our story, the formation of the vast northern plains, a true gift from the Himalayan rivers. So, how did these huge plains actually form? Well, it happened through a slow and steady three-step process, all thanks to the rivers. First up, we have erosion. The powerful, fast-flowing Himalayan rivers carved through the young mountains, breaking down rock into smaller and smaller pieces. The second step is transport. The river water carried all this material, fine soil, silt, and sand, downstream. And finally, the most important step, deposition. When the rivers reached the flat foothills, they slowed right down and dropped all the material they were carrying into a massive basin. This deposited material is called alluvium. Alluvial soil. This term is really important. This is that rich, fine sediment that the rivers brought all the way down from the mountains. Over millions of years, layer after layer of this soil filled up the basin, creating the flat and extremely fertile northern plains that we see today. And the scale of these plains is just staggering. They cover a massive area of 7 lakh square kilometers. Just think about that. All of this incredibly fertile land was built, tiny grain by tiny grain, by the constant, tireless work of the Himalayan rivers. Okay, so while all this drama, this mountain building and plain making was happening up in the north, another, much older part of India had a far quieter story. Let's turn our attention to the ancient and very stable peninsular plateau.
And here is where we can really see that contrast between the new and the old. On one side, we have the young Himalayas, with what geologists call a youthful topography, high peaks, deep valleys, and fast-flowing rivers. And on the other side, we have the peninsular plateau, one of the most ancient land masses on the entire Earth. It's made of old, hard rock, and its features are much softer, gently rising hills and wide, shallow valleys.
This picture really captures the character of the plateau. Notice, there are no sharp, jagged peaks here like in the Himalayas. Instead, what we see are rounded hills and broad valleys. This is what a landscape looks like after hundreds of millions of years of stability, being slowly weathered and smoothed by the elements. This is our worn, smooth stone. So these three major geological stories, the Great Collision, the making of the plains, and the long stability of the plateau, have sculpted the face of modern India. Together, they've created 6 major physical regions. Let's take a quick tour of the country as it looks today, shaped by all this ancient history. All right, so here they are, India's 6 major physiographic divisions. We've already explored the stories of the big three: the Himalayan mountains, the northern plains, and the peninsular plateau. The other three, which are just as important, are the Indian desert, the long coastal plains, and of course, the islands.
This relief map really helps to put it all into perspective. You can clearly trace that great arc of the Himalayas in the north. You can see the vast green expanse of the plains just below them. And then there's that ancient triangular plateau forming the heart of the peninsula. To the west, you have the desert, and lining the coasts are the narrow plains and our island groups. Each one has its own unique story.
And just to appreciate the sheer scale of those young, crumpled mountains, have a look at these numbers. Mount Everest stands at an incredible 8,848 meters. And right here in India, we have peaks like Kanchenjunga and Nanga Parbat that are both over 8,000 meters tall. It truly is the roof of the world. So we've understood how these landforms were created. But now for the really important question. Why does it all matter? How does this ancient geology affect the lives of people in India today? Let's make that connection.
What's truly important to understand is that this geological diversity makes the country incredibly rich in resources. The mountains are the source of our major rivers and our forest wealth. The northern plains, well, they're called the granaries of the country for a reason. They feed the nation. The ancient plateau is a massive storehouse of minerals, which are vital for our industries. And the coastal regions and islands, they provide sites for fishing and important port activities. You see, in a way, each region provides for the others.
And that brings us to a final thought. This grand geological story has shaped everything in India: our history, our culture, our economy. So I will leave you with a question to think about. How has the unique geography of the place where you live shaped your life?